Jace walked through the docking bay with a heavy toolbox in one hand and a scanner in the other. The station smelled like metal and oil, with flashing lights and busy voices all around. It was just another day fixing cargo ships, until he heard the sound. It was faint, a soft whimper, like a child crying. He stopped walking. The sound came from a shadowed corner near the trash zone, where broken crates and unwanted cargo were thrown away. No one went there unless they had to. Even the patrol bots avoided that area. Jace listened again. There it was, a soft, shaky sob. He turned and followed it. The crates were stacked high, some leaking fluids. He stepped over a torn tarp, careful not to slip. Then he saw it, a rusted cage. It was small and dark, hidden behind a pile of scrap metal. A dirty cloth covered the bars. The sound came from inside. Jace slowly pulled back the cloth. His eyes widened. Inside the cage was an alien woman, thin, weak, her skin dull and cracked. Her arms were wrapped protectively around a small figure. A child, curled up and shivering. They both looked up at him. The woman's eyes were hollow, but the child's eyes were full of fear and hope. Jace crouched down. What is this? He whispered to himself. The woman didn't speak. The child let out another whimper. Hey, Jace said gently. Are you hurt? No answer. He looked around. There were no guards, no watchers, no signs, just the cage. He reached forward to open the door, but it was locked, strongly locked. He stood up and walked back to the nearest cargo officer's desk. A short, red-faced alien with 4 arms sat at the desk, chewing on something slimy. There's a cage back there, Jace said, firmly, with a woman and a child inside. The officer didn't look up. Yeah, so? They're alive. The officer sighed. Yeah, I know. Don't touch them. What? Why? They're marked. Widow class. Junk cast. Not worth processing. Not worth what? They're people. The alien looked at him now. They were people. Her mate died in battle. Now she's useless. Law says they can't breed again, so we discard them. That's the rule. Jace clenched his fists. And the child? Born from the widow. She shares the fate. Now, unless you want to lose your job, stay away. Jace walked away, but he didn't return to his ship. He went back to the cage. The cloth still hung from one side, blowing slightly in the breeze. The child was asleep now, clinging to the alien woman's chest. She looked up again, weak and silent. He crouched. I brought this, he said softly, pulling a small water flask from his belt. He pushed it through the bars. The woman hesitated, then took it slowly, lifting it to the child's lips first. The little girl drank. Then, the woman did. She looked at him with tired eyes, but this time, she nodded. It was the smallest thank you. He returned later with a protein bar, then with a blanket, then with more water. Each time, the alien woman looked at him a little longer. Each time, the child whimpered a little less. That night, Jace lay in his bunk staring at the ceiling. He couldn't sleep. The child's sob echoed in his head. He had seen pain before. War zones, lost ships, broken bodies. But this was something else. This was cruelty wearing the mask of law. The next morning he returned again. This time she spoke. Her voice was dry and cracked. My name is Thalea. He smiled softly. I'm Jace. She looked down at her child. Her name is Manali. The little girl blinked and gave a weak smile. Jace felt something shift in his chest. He didn't know what it was, but he knew he couldn't leave them like this. Not again. As he stood to leave, Thalea gripped the bars. Why? She asked. Jace turned. Why what? Why help us? No one else. Even looks. He paused, then said the truth. Because I heard your child crying, and no one should cry alone in the dark. Jace knew he was being watched. The cameras didn't blink, but he could feel them turn when he passed. Security drones hovered a little closer. Dock workers gave him long, silent stares. Ever since he visited that cage, things had changed. But still, then he went back. Each time he brought something small: water, food, cloth, a gentle word, and each time Thalea, the alien widow, looked a little more alive. Her child, Manali, even tried to stand once, though her legs were too weak. Today, Jace sat beside the cage again, handing over a sealed meal pack. "You know they're going to notice soon," Thalea whispered, her voice steadier now. "They already have," Jace replied. He didn't say it out loud, but yesterday his shift had been cut short without warning. His ID pass now blinked yellow, limited access. And today, when he tried to enter the repair bay, 2 guards had blocked the door. One of them smiled too much. "Maybe you need some rest, human," he said. Jace didn't argue. He turned back and walked straight to the cage. He watched Thalea feed Manali with slow, careful fingers. The child chewed quietly, her eyes no longer full of panic, but still dim with hunger. "How long have you been here?" he asked. Thalea wiped Manali's mouth and answered. "I was taken from the ruins of my world. My mate died in the second invasion. We were told there would be help for survivors. But when they saw I had no mate, they caged us, called us waste blood." Jace's hands tightened around the bars. "And no one stopped them?" Thalea looked away. No one even looked. Later that evening, Jace returned to his bunk and found a small red envelope on his bed. No name. No stamp. Just words: "Stop feeding the widow. We do not tolerate sympathy for rot. Final warning." Jace folded the note slowly. He didn't throw it away. He burned it in a small flame and watched it turn to ash. The next day, Thalea didn't smile when he arrived. She was curled up again, her body wrapped around Manali. "They're coming," she whispered. "I heard 2 officers speak last night. They said the cage would be emptied soon." Jace's heart pounded. Emptied how? Thalea didn't answer. She just hugged her child tighter. Jace stood up and walked straight to the storage office. "Give me access to the cage," he demanded. The same red-faced cargo officer laughed. "Again with this?" "They're planning something. I want to know who gave the order." The alien tapped a thick finger on his desk. "You want trouble, human? This is how you get it." Jace leaned closer. "I already have trouble. Now I want answers." The officer's smile faded. He picked up a small screen tablet and showed Jace a page. "Order ID, 32 kill status. Cleanup scheduled, disposal approved." Jace read it twice, then once more. "Disposal," he repeated softly. "They're not garbage." The officer shrugged. "To this station they are." Jace walked out without saying another word. He went straight to his small ship in Bay 9, locked the doors, opened the hidden storage bay, and began making space. He cleaned the engine room, cleared the supply shelves, built a small bed from tool crates and folded cloth. Then he waited for night. When the station lights dimmed and only the security drones remained, he moved. Quiet. Fast. He wore his tool uniform and pretended to scan crates. When he reached the cage, Thalea looked up in surprise. "You came back?" "I always do," he said. He pulled out a stolen keycard, swiped it through the lock. A red light blinked. Then green. The cage creaked open. Thalea gasped softly. "They'll kill you if they catch you." Jace reached out a hand. "Then let's not get caught." He lifted Manali into his arms. Thalea followed, limping. Her feet were bleeding. He didn't stop. They moved through the back alleys of the docking station, avoiding lights, hiding behind cargo. At one point, a drone buzzed too close. Jace ducked, pressing the mother and child behind a broken crate. They didn't breathe. Seconds passed. The drone flew away. They kept moving. Finally, they reached his ship. The doors opened. They slipped inside. Jace sealed it. Thalea collapsed to her knees, gasping. Manali whimpered, then fell asleep in his arms. Jace gently handed her to her mother. Then from a small storage box he pulled out bread and soup. Thalea stared at him. "You risked your life," For us. Jace sat on the floor, breathing hard. I didn't plan to. Then why? He looked at Manali's peaceful face, then whispered, because kindness should never come with a price, and neither should silence. The ship's engine room was quiet, just the soft hum of backup power and the slow breathing of a mother and her child. Jace sat near the panel, his back against the wall. His jacket was folded into a pillow for little Manali, who now slept deeply, in a nest of cloth and warmth. Thalea, the alien widow, sat across from him, her arms wrapped protectively around her child. They hadn't spoken much since escaping. But now, she began. My people believe silence keeps pain from growing, she said softly, but I think silence only makes it grow deeper. Jace looked up, listening. Thalea's eyes were heavy but awake. I was a healer before the war. My hands used to bring life, not beg for it. She gently ran her fingers through Manali's hair. When the fighting reached our world, everything burned. My mate died shielding a nursery. I fled with my daughter, hoping to find safety, but I was taken, sold as unwanted stock. A widow, a burden. Her voice cracked. I told them my child was sick. I told them she needed care. They locked us in that cage anyway, no questions, no names, just silence. Jace's jaw tightened. How long were you there? I don't know, she whispered. Time stopped mattering after the third sunrise without food. Jace stood up slowly and opened a small cabinet. He pulled out a medical kit, sat beside her, and opened a tube of healing gel. Let me see your feet, he said. Thalea hesitated, then nodded. As he gently treated the wounds, she watched him closely. No one has touched me without fear in a very long time, she murmured. I'm not afraid of the truth, Jace said, not looking up. When he was done, he sat back. You're safe now, he said. But Thalea shook her head. No, not yet, Jace frowned. Why not? Because they will never stop hunting stories like mine. The ones that make people question the law. The ones that make people feel. She looked at Manali. She's the truth I was supposed to keep silent. A child who wasn't supposed to exist. If they find us, they'll erase her. And me. Like we never lived. Jace stood and walked to the ship's console. He pressed a few buttons, checked fuel readings, and stared out into the stars. They won't find you, he said. Thalea tilted her head. You're planning something. I know a station where the law is different. A place that accepts all species, no caste rules, no scrap classes. It's far and risky, but we'll get there. Thalea lowered her eyes. And what about you? You'll be marked for helping us. I already am, he said. Then he smiled. But if her story can live, if she can grow up free, then it's worth it. Hours later, Jace sat alone in the cockpit while Thalea and Manali slept. He scrolled through his comm logs. The warning message had come again, this time through a private code. Return the widow, erase your mistake, or you'll share her. Fate. He deleted the message, but not from memory. The next day, Thalea asked a question. If we don't make it, what will happen to her? Jace looked at her seriously. Then I'll make sure she does. Even if I don't. Thalea stared at him, stunned. You would raise her? He nodded. She deserves a life, not a cage. Tears formed in her eyes, but they didn't fall. She held them back with strength learned from pain. You are not like the others, he smiled. I'm just human. No, she whispered. You are good. That night Manali woke with a cough. Thalea sat up fast, holding her close. Jace rushed over. It's her lungs, Thalea said. She's had this since birth. The cold and the hunger. It's getting worse. Jace opened the medkit and searched for anything that could help. He found a breathing patch and pressed it gently to Manali's chest. Her coughing slowed, but she was still weak. We don't have much time, Thalea said. If we don't reach that station soon. Jace tightened his grip on the controls. Then we'll fly faster. But back at the docking station, a security officer entered the empty cage. He scanned the walls, then picked up a piece of torn cloth. A small toy, Minali's toy. He smiled coldly, then tapped his communicator. The widow has escaped. The human helped her. Tracking now. Far above, a red dot blinked on a screen. Jace's ship was being followed. Red lights blinked on the radar. Jace frowned at the screen in his cockpit. Behind them, fast, steady, closing in, a tracking signal. They found us, he muttered. He tapped commands on the panel, switching frequencies, changing direction. But it didn't help. The signal stayed with them. Thalea appeared behind, him holding Minali close. You said this route was safe. It was, Jace replied. I erased our trail, or I thought I did. Minali coughed softly, her head against her mother's chest. Thalea's eyes were calm but full of fear. They'll destroy your ship. Let them try, Jace said. He pushed the thrusters forward. They shot through an asteroid belt. Sharp. Turns, close dodges. Jace knew how to fly like a smuggler when he had to. But the shadow behind them didn't fade. A ship followed. Sleek, dark, government issue. Inside, a voice buzzed through the comms. Pilot Jace Thorne, shut down your vessel. Return the stolen Class Z assets. Final warning. Jace turned off the ear. Thalea looked at him. They call us assets. I know, he said quietly. That's why we don't stop. He brought the ship low into a dead planet's atmosphere. Dusty clouds, broken mountains, no signals. A place forgotten by most. Jace landed hard between two cliffs. The ship rocked but held. He looked back at Thalea. We'll hide here for a while. She nodded. But the silence didn't last. A loud boom shook the ground. The dark ship had followed, and it was landing. Jace opened a hidden drawer and pulled out a small blaster. Thalea stood. You can't fight them alone. I'm not leaving you and Minali. Thalea gently put her hand on his arm. Then I won't let you fight alone. They shared a long look. Then they heard footsteps. Outside the ship, 3 armored soldiers approached. All wore black visors. No names, no faces, they spoke through a speaker. Hand over the widow and her spawn. You are in violation of Interspecies Code 47 Delta. You are protecting Scrap. Jace stepped out slowly, holding the blaster low. She's not Scrap, he said. She's a person, and so is her child. One soldier stepped forward. You're breaking the law, human. Jace stared at him. Then maybe the law is broken. The soldiers raised their weapons, but before they fired, a light exploded from behind them. It was blue, bright, and wild. Thalea stepped out of the ship, her hands glowing with energy. The ancient kind banned by her people's rulers. The air shimmered around her. The soldiers paused. One shouted, Her caste is forbidden to use that. She is protecting her child, Jace shouted back. That's more sacred than your rules. The soldiers aimed again, and Thalea raised her arms. The blast that came from her was not fire, but force. Wind, light, heat. It knocked the soldiers back into the dust. One hit a rock and didn't move. The others crawled away, terrified. Jace looked at her in shock. Where did that come from? Thalea fell to her knees. I was once a healer. I learned power through peace. But peace does not mean silence. Jace helped her up, stunned. Minali ran out of the ship and hugged her mother tight. Jace looked around. Smoke was rising. Someone would come again. They had to keep moving. Back inside the ship, Jace pulled up a list of safe zones. One blinked on screen. Station Haven 3, a small colony where refugee laws were strong. It's our best shot, he said. Thalea nodded. Then let's fly before silence finds us again. As the ship lifted off, one of the fallen soldiers tapped a hidden beacon before passing out. A signal was sent. Subject escaped. Human resisted. Widow used forbidden power. Judgment approved. Back in the stars, Jace pushed the engines to full. This time he didn't look back. Beside him, Thalea placed her hand on his shoulder. You disobeyed your law to protect someone like me. Jace didn't smile. He just said, I didn't disobey. I just listened to the right voice. She looked at him quietly. And what voice was that? He nodded toward the back of the ship, where Manali slept peacefully for the first time in days. The one that cried in the dark. The stars were quiet, too quiet. Jace leaned forward in the pilot's seat, scanning the radar. Green dots blinked softly on the screen. Navigation points, harmless signals from trade ships, and one red dot, far behind but steady. They're still tracking us, he said under his breath. Behind him, Thalea wrapped Manali in a thermal blanket. The little girl had stopped coughing, but her chest still rose and fell unevenly. Jace checked the map again. Only one safe place left. Haven 3, the refugee station. But it was 3 jumps away, and their fuel was barely enough for 2. Is she well enough to travel? He asked quietly. Thalea nodded, though her eyes were tired. She's stronger than she looks. She gets that from her father. She didn't speak his name. She never did. Jace tapped the control panel. We move now, he said. The ship jumped through space like a skipping stone. Flashes of light, brief emptiness, then stars again. Each jump pushed the engine harder. Each jump brought the red dot closer. Whoever was chasing them wasn't giving up. On the second jump, the ship's fuel warning blinked red. Jace cursed softly. We're going to stall before the last jump. Thalea sat beside him. What happens if we stall? We drift and wait for someone to find us. She nodded slowly. And if that someone isn't friendly? Jace didn't answer. They both knew. Manali stirred in her sleep. She whispered, Mama, the stars are cold. Thalea brushed her hair gently. We'll find warm ones soon. But even she didn't sound sure anymore. Hours passed. The final jump was close. Jace rerouted power from non-critical systems, dimmed the lights, and locked down half the ship to conserve energy. Still the warning blinked. Still the red dot followed. And then an alarm screamed. The red dot was no longer far. It was here. A black ship appeared on the radar, above and behind. No name, no call sign, just a shadow. Prepare for boarding, Jace said. Thalea stood, eyes wide. You mean, let them in? No, Jace said, opening a small hidden compartment behind the cockpit. I mean, prepare to hide. Inside was a narrow tunnel leading to the engine maintenance bay. He handed her a warm mask, a small oxygen pack, and a wrapped protein bar. Stay silent. No matter what you hear. She stared at him. What about you? I'll stall them. Her voice broke. They'll take you. He paused. Maybe, but they won't find her. Or you. A loud thud echoed through the ship. Then another. They had latched on. Jace helped Thalea and Manali into the tunnel, sealing it quietly behind them. Then, he returned to the main deck and opened the ship's door. 3 armored figures entered. Each wore black visors. No names, no mercy. Where is the widow? One demanded. Jace leaned against the console, arms crossed. You mean the living woman you locked in a cage with her dying child? The soldier took a step forward. You've committed 3 crimes, harboring, aiding, running. Jace's voice didn't shake. You forgot the 4th, listening. They grabbed him, slammed him against the wall, searched the ship, checked every compartment, except the one they didn't see. The engine tunnel. Inside, Thalea held Manali tight, her hand over the child's mouth. They both shook, not from cold, from waiting, from hoping. The soldiers returned to the deck. She's not here, one said. Then he dumped them. The other growled. Take him. We'll interrogate later. They pulled Jace out in handcuffs. He looked back one last time, just once. The black ship vanished into the stars. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Inside the tunnel, Thalea listened to nothing but her daughter's breathing. Finally, she opened the hatch, slowly, cautiously. The ship was dark and empty. Her heart broke, but she kept breathing, because her child was safe. She walked to the pilot seat, trembling. A small screen blinked, a message from Jace, left just before he opened the door. If you're reading this, they didn't find you. Fuel is low, but there's enough for one last jump. Go to Haven 3. They'll protect you there. Tell Manali. I'm glad I heard her cry. Thalea placed her hand on the screen, then sat down and set course for Haven 3. The stars were quiet again, but this time they felt heavier. Thalea sat alone in the pilot's seat, her arms locked around the controls. Her knuckles were pale, her face hard. Behind her, Manali slept in a ball of blankets, a soft hum from the life support keeping her warm. The ship rattled slightly. One of the engines was struggling. Fuel was almost gone. But she didn't slow. Down Jace had given her one last jump, one last hope, and she would not waste it. She tapped into the navigation system. The screen blinked. Haven 301 jump remaining. Critical energy level. She took a breath, then looked at the small datapad Jace had left her, tucked beside the chair. It held no map, only his last message. His voice. You're not weak, Thalea. You're not worthless, you're a mother, and that's stronger than any law. She closed her eyes for a second and jumped. The stars blurred, white stretched to infinity, then snapped back. She had made it. But alarm screamed instantly. Power, core failing. External signal detected, contact incoming. Thalea's eyes shot to the scanner. A ship was nearby. Not Haven 3, not friendly. It was a scavenger vessel, pirates, drawn to weak signals and desperate travelers. They hailed her. A gruff voice came. Through. Unmarked vessel, you're floating junk. Power down and we might not shoot you. She didn't answer. Last warning, little widow. This is pirate space now. Thalea stood. She moved to the back of the ship and opened a secret panel Jace had never shown her. Inside was something old and dangerous. Not a weapon of war. A healer's core. An ancient energy tool, banned on many worlds. It was made to fix living things, but if reversed, it could burn like a sun. She held it in her hands. This was her line now, her last stand. She returned to the deck and looked out at the stars. Manali was still sleeping peacefully. But Thalea was awake now, more than she had been in years. She activated the core and fused it to the ship's engine. Outside, the scavenger ship drew closer, weapons charged. Fine, the voice growled. We'll take what's left. They fired. A beam of plasma hit Thalea's ship, but the energy core flared blue and absorbed it. Her ship didn't break. It transformed. The hull glowed. The damaged parts healed. Inside, the lights flickered, then returned, brighter than before. Thalea's eyes burned with silver, light. She turned the ship, pointed directly at the pirate vessel, then activated the core fully. A wave of energy exploded from her ship. Not fire, not destruction, but force. A storm of light and pressure smashed into the scavenger ship. Their systems failed. Lights blew out. Engines died. They spun into the void, powerless. Inside her cockpit, Thalea stood breathing hard, her hand pressed to the glass. Her body trembled, but she did not fall. At that moment, her ship's radio sparked. Unidentified vessel. This is Haven 3 Command. We received your distress beacon. Please identify yourself. She leaned forward, voice steady. This is Thalea, widow class, one child on board. There was a pause. Then, Thalea, you are welcome. Docking Bay 4 is open. No casts here, no cages, just rest. The gates of Haven 3 opened slowly as her ship approached. Clean metal walls, white lights, gentle music over the speakers. Manali. Woke just as they landed. Where are we, Mama? Thalea smiled through tears. Somewhere safe. Doctors rushed forward, helping them off the ship. One woman, human, placed a warm hand on Manali's back. She's strong, the doctor said. She'll heal. Thalea nodded, then looked back at the stars. At the dark space Jace had vanished into, she whispered, "We made it." But far away, in a hidden prison block, Jace sat chained, beaten, but not broken. A guard stood outside. "You gave up your life for garbage," he sneered. Jace raised his head. "No," he said. "I gave it for family." It had been 12 days since Thalea and Manali arrived at Haven 3. 12 days since warmth returned to their bones. 12 days since clean clothes, fresh food, and real beds. And 12 days since they last heard from Jace. Thalea stood at the wide station window holding her daughter's hand as ships passed slowly outside. Refugees, traders, pilgrims, broken souls, looking for peace. But he wasn't among them. Not yet. A soft voice came from behind her. "You're the one who came in on the modified salvage ship, right?" She turned. A human woman in officer blue approached. Her eyes were kind. "We just got a message," the officer said. "From a prison block near Sector D9. One of our patrols intercepted it." Thalea's heart jumped. She didn't speak. She didn't breathe. The officer continued. It was short. Just 4 words. "The child. Is she safe?" Thalea's knees weakened. She grabbed the edge of the glass to hold herself up. "He's alive," she whispered. Manali looked up. "Mama, was that from Mr. Jace?" Thalea knelt, holding her daughter's face gently. "Yes, sweet star. It was him." Manali smiled softly. "I want to send him something." "What?" The little girl thought for a moment, then held up her hand. Her tiny fingers, still small from hunger, spread open. "I want to send him this. A hug. Tell him I miss him." Thalea kissed her forehead. "Then we will." Haven 3's leaders gathered quickly. No caste laws bound them. No outdated rules chained their hearts. When Thalea explained what Jace had done, risking prison for 2 strangers, they all stood. A rescue was approved. No delays. 3 days later, a transport ship painted in Haven white flew silently into deep space. Inside it sat 2 pilots, a Haven soldier and Thalea. She had insisted on going. "I'm not leaving him behind," she said. "Not after what he did." The soldier nodded. "Then we'll bring him home." Back in the prison sector, Jace sat in a cold metal room, bruised but alert. He no longer felt the pain. He only felt guilt. Did they make it? Did she survive the last jump? Did Manali breathe again in peace? Every day, the same question haunted him until the alarms blared and the sky turned white. The guards scrambled, shouting commands. A sleek white ship landed just outside the compound. Jace, chained to a wall, didn't move. He thought it was another trick. Then, the door burst open. Smoke, light, footsteps. Then, her voice. "Jace." His eyes widened. "Thalea." She ran to him, tears falling freely now. The Haven soldier covered her as she dropped to her knees and touched his face. "You fool," she whispered. "You gave up your life." His voice was dry, cracked. "You found Haven?" "We found more than that." She turned and called behind her. A small figure stepped in slowly. Manali. Her little eyes filled with joy. "Mr. Jace." He almost cried. Almost. Instead, he smiled. "I heard you cry once," he said. "Now I hear you laugh. That's better." They returned to Haven 3 as stars turned quietly around them. Jace sat in the medical room, cleaned up and bandaged. Thalea walked in, carrying 2 cups of soup. She handed him one. He sipped it, then looked at her. "You didn't have to come." "Yes," she said softly. "I did." He looked down at Manali, sleeping beside the bed. "She's stronger. So are you." The room fell quiet for a while. Then Thalea whispered, "I have no mate anymore, no homeworld, but I have a daughter, and now I have someone who protected us when no one else would." Jace blinked. She took his hand. "I don't care what our species are. I only know what family feels like now." Months passed. Together, they built a small home on the outer ring of Haven 3. Not big, but safe. Manali grew stronger, learned to smile, without fear. She called Jace Papa without even thinking about it. And Jace? He finally believed that one cry in the dark could change everything. One act of kindness, one choice to listen, one human who refused to walk away.